The Old Man and His Donkey. The sun rose every morning over the dust of the old city, but for Elias, it never truly arrived until he heard the gentle, wheezing snort of Zoltan. Elias was a man of bone and leather. His face was a roadmap of 70 years of sun, worry, and quiet laughter, deeply etched with lines that seemed to gather the dirt and shadows. He wore the same simple tunic and linen trousers year-round, clothes as faded and dependable as the routines that structured his life. Zoltan, his donkey, was just as old and just as weary. His coat was a dull, patchy gray, and his ears drooped with an air of dignified exhaustion. He wasn't fast, and he wasn't strong, but he possessed the virtue Elias valued above all: patience. Their routine had been the same for 2 decades. They would leave their small, crooked house on the edge of the Medina, the old city, walk a mile to the wholesale spice market, load Zoltan's sturdy baskets with sacks of saffron, cumin, and cardamom, and then spend the long day navigating the labyrinthine alleys, delivering their fragrant cargo to the city's cooks and merchants. They were an institution, a slow-moving, fragrant fixture in a city that rushed around them. One crisp morning, as they made their way past the grand, marble-clad courthouse, a group of young men in freshly pressed suits stood blocking the narrow lane. They were part of a new generation, ambitious, educated, and scornful of anything that moved slowly. The leader, a sharp-featured man named Tariq, stepped forward. "Good morning, Baba Elias," he said, his voice dripping with false deference. "I see your faithful engine is still chugging along." Elias stopped. Zoltan, sensing the tension, merely lowered his head and began chewing thoughtfully on a stray piece of straw. "Good morning, Tariq," Elias replied, adjusting the rope around Zoltan's neck. "We are well. Are you blocking the road to simply enjoy the view?" Tariq smiled, a cold, humorless flash of teeth. "No, I am blocking it to deliver a message. The city council has passed a new ordinance. No beasts of burden are permitted within the central business district between sunrise and sunset. It is a measure to modernize the city, to clear congestion and dirt." Elias felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning air. The central business district was the spice market. It was every customer they had. "But where am I to work?" Elias asked, his voice low. "This donkey is my hands. He is my truck. We have done this for 20 years. Tariq shrugged, pulling a thick, official-looking document from his briefcase. "The decree is clear. You are welcome to use a handcart or hire a motorized rickshaw. But the council is firm, Elias. Modern times demand modern solutions." He paused, his gaze lingering on the faded, dusty basket on Zoltan's back. "Sell the donkey, old man. Get a new job." With that, Tariq and his companions moved on, leaving Elias and Zoltan stranded in the middle of the empty, suddenly hostile street. Elias looked at the document in his hands, then at his donkey. Zoltan looked back with his dull, knowing eyes, as if asking, "Well, what nonsense is this now?" They turned and walked back toward their humble home, the usual excitement of the morning market replaced by a heavy, suffocating dread. The weight of modernity. For the next week, Elias tried to adapt. He bought a rickety, 2-wheeled handcart, which was far too small for the market loads. The weight of just 1 sack of coarse black pepper was enough to make his 70-year-old knees tremble. He made 4 slow, agonizing trips a day, but he could only carry a fraction of what Zoltan could manage in one go. His customers noticed. The great chef Rita, who bought his chili flakes by the kilo, shook her head sadly. "Elias, you are killing yourself. Your deliveries are late and small. I must find a new supplier. I am sorry." The small savings Elias had accumulated began to dwindle, spent on medicinal herbs for his aching back. He watched Zoltan standing in the tiny yard, motionless, his ears barely twitching, his spirit fading as quickly as his workload. The donkey was built to work, and idleness was a form of slow torture. One afternoon, Elias walked up to Zoltan and rested his forehead against the donkey's warm, dusty flank. "They say you are obsolete, old friend," Elias murmured. "They say you are a relic, but they do not understand that the finest spices must travel slow, must travel with dignity. They must have the time to dream their fragrances into the air." Elias knew he couldn't survive on the meager earnings from the handcart, and he certainly couldn't watch Zoltan wither away. The thought of selling his partner, his only real family, was a knife in his gut. He went to the rickshaw rental depot. A young mechanic, his hands covered in oil, grinned at him. "A rickshaw? Smart move, Baba. You can make 3 times the money." Elias shook his head. "I have no money for a rickshaw. I came to ask, where do they take the animals that are no longer allowed in the city?" The mechanic paused, his smile fading. "Ah. The confiscations. They are taken to the municipal holding pens, out by the old quarry. But it is not a good place, Baba. The council is slow to feed them. Better to sell him yourself quickly." Elias thanked the boy and walked away, a terrible decision forming in his mind. He would not sell Zoltan to a stranger, to be worked to death on a farm. He would not let him starve in a barren holding pen. He had to find a way to work, and for that, he needed his donkey. And the only way to get Zoltan into the city was to do something truly outrageous. The last delivery. That night, Elias did not sleep. He cleaned his best tunic, the one he hadn't worn since his daughter's wedding, and polished his old leather sandals. He groomed Zoltan until his dull gray coat shone faintly in the moonlight. He fed the donkey a generous portion of sweet alfalfa and 3 dried figs, a royal feast. Before dawn, before the first call to prayer echoed across the city, Elias loaded Zoltan's baskets. He filled them not with the usual market spices, but with everything he had left: 2 sacks of rare white pepper, a kilo of the finest Iranian saffron, and a few pouches of rare frankincense, worth more than his house. He tied an antique brass bell which usually sat on his mantle to Zoltan's harness. It was a bell that had belonged to his grandfather, and its chime was deep and mellow. When the sky was just a bruised purple over the horizon, Elias started walking toward the central business district. He was deliberately early, hoping to slip past the patrols. They were a block away from the market square when a municipal truck pulled up, its headlights blinding them. Tariq, the young official, stepped out, a smug look of triumph on his face. "I knew you couldn't resist, old man," Tariq said, folding his arms. "I told the guard to watch for you." "Ordinance violation. We are confiscating the animal." Elias stood his ground. He didn't argue. He didn't beg. He simply reached out and unclipped Zoltan's harness. "Zoltan," Elias said, his voice ringing with a conviction that startled even Tariq. "Go to the market. Go to Madame Rita. To the man with the silver cart. To the baker in the blue stall. Go to them all." Zoltan, unburdened by rope or command, lifted his head. The morning light caught the gleam of the brass bell, and it chimed softly as he turned and started walking away from Elias, toward the market square. Tariq laughed, a harsh, dismissive sound. "You've gone mad, old man. The donkey is loose. He'll be hit by a car, or he'll eat some poor merchant's produce. We'll charge you extra for the mess." "He is not loose?" Elias said, a faint, proud smile touching his lips. "He is working." Zoltan, completely unsupervised, did not run. He did not stray. He walked with his usual slow, dignified pace, stopping exactly at the stall of Madame Rita. He waited, then walked to the stall of the silver cart merchant. He made his entire morning route, the heavy baskets swaying gently, the brass bell marking his progress like a steady musical clock. He did not touch a single herb, nor did he deviate from the path he had walked for 20 years. The few merchants who were already opening up stared in stunned silence. Tariq was speechless, his jaw slack. The old man hadn't used the donkey, he had simply sent it. The ordinance forbade a man from moving a beast of burden, but it said nothing about the beast moving itself. Elias had broken no rule. The animal was merely walking. It happened to be wearing baskets. Zoltan completed his final delivery. The merchants, recognizing the silent, powerful protest, unloaded the baskets, and, instead of paying, each of them placed a single, worn banknote, not into the basket, but into a clean white cloth they tied to Zoltan's harness. This was not payment for spices, it was a gift for the old man. Zoltan walked back to the spot where he had left Elias, his now empty basket swaying. The beautiful, heavy chime of the brass bell echoed through the square, a defiant melody against the morning traffic. Elias walked up to his donkey and gently removed the cloth full of money. It was more than he had made in the last month. Tariq and the municipal guards stood dumbfounded. They had witnessed not a violation, but a silent, beautiful act of defiance. The spirit of the law was to keep the animals out, but Elias had followed the letter of the law perfectly. Elias looked at Tariq, his eyes shining not with victory, but with profound sorrow. "Now, young man," he said softly, "you can take him." He handed Tariq the harness rope. He had achieved his goal. Zoltan had done his last work with dignity, and Elias had enough money to send his old friend to a peaceful grassy farm far outside the city. He could not fight the city, but he could save his friend. As the guards led the quiet, compliant Zoltan toward the truck, the deep, rich sound of the brass bell faded into the noise of the rushing city. Elias stood alone in the street, no longer a merchant, just an old man with empty hands but with a full heart. He had lost his job, but he had saved his friend's life, and he had won a small, perfect victory for the spirit of slow, patient dignity in a city determined to forget it.